Hey there guys! In today's video we are discussing why I don't like monocolored decks. Alright, so we're discussing why I don't like monocolored decks, and it comes down to a pretty simple basic thing about monocolored decks, which is in my opinion, there's just not enough options in your colors. Now, yes, there are some colors that have more things in them going for them, like green. Everyone says green's OP and whatnot. I know it is somewhat OP to a degree, but really, green does have several things that it actually can't do, though maybe in the next few years they might actually print some of these cards because they seem to want to give everything to green. But whatever. Green doesn't have really any good single target removal. I know green has fight spells, but that's not nearly the same as having single target proper removal spells. Now, yes, I know they have Beast Within, but besides Beast Within, they don't have anything like even Swords to Plowshares, or even like Baleful Mastery or anything like that. Those kind of spells where it just says kill a creature or whatever. So that is what I mean by that. So, and also basically green doesn't have any real board wipes. I don't even think there's that many mass fight spells for green, which I think is also a bit weird. But, you know, again, like having some sort of board wipe wouldn't fit within green in my opinion either. But then again, it's one of those things, even if you do say, well, wish they would get a, mass fight spell, that wouldn't be too bad. But then again, like each color shouldn't have every single thing at its disposal. I get that, but again, it's very difficult to play the game in EDH when you play a color and you go, oh, suddenly now I cannot, if I'm playing red, for example, I cannot deal with artifacts I can't deal with enchantments. And I really can't deal with creatures singularly. Like, I can deal with creatures en masse because I've got a couple of mass board wipes and things like that, mass damaging board wipes and things like that. But for the most part, that I can't deal with things on a single target level, and I can deal with artifacts, but I can't deal with enchantments. There's a lot of times in those colors like blue and black and whatnot that, if you come up against an artifact or an enchantment, the things that you can't sort of deal with for the most part. I know they've put in some artifact and enchantment removal into black and into blue in the most recent years and whatnot. But again, for the most part, there's only one or two cards that do that. I don't think there really should be many of those things. But again, it's one of those things. You're like, oh, well, this stops me in my tracks, or I really need to stop them from doing something with that. Yes, I know in blue you might have counter spells, but again, you've got to have the mana to cast those counter spells, or you've got to have the patience and the skill to be like, well, how can I hold up 2 mana every single turn and be proactive and do this and do that and, like several other things and have enough mana to actually do it. I need to ramp on turn 2, or I need to ramp on turn 1, or I need to do this, I need to cast my 5-drop, I need to get my value engine going, blah, 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 I need this, I need that. Yes, I know that there are 0 mana, essentially, counter spells or free counter spells, but again, not everyone has access to them, so that's not a decent argument for the most part because they're too out of price. So again, just not being able to have a color that can deal with the things that it sort of can't deal with is the main reason why I don't really like monocolor decks, which is why I tend to not build them. And again, like, I'm not going to lampost or whatever somebody or whatever if they just decide to build a deck like that. That's their choice. If they know, hey, look, I'm building mono red, I'm going to have a real tough time dealing with enchantments and dealing with creatures on a single target level, then that might be fine if they understand that, or it is fine if they understand that. But if they get into it and then they're like, oh wow, why can't I deal with enchantments? It's like, well, because your color doesn't deal with enchantments really, or whatnot. Or why can't I kill creatures? Well, again, for the most part, you can't kill creatures in your color. Yes, sure, there are some burn spells that are out there that are decent and can deal with some creatures, but again, there's not enough that deal with enough bigger creatures. Now, a lot of the bigger creatures tend to be green. There's that new spell, I can't remember what set it's from actually now. It's one of the latest sets though. It deals 2 damage to a creature, but if it's green, it deals 6 damage. So that's a really good spell, actually, I think. But again, it's one of those things where it's like, well, again, for the most part, it's only one spell. And one spell isn't going to save you. Yes, Swords to Plowshares is one spell, but that along with Path to Exile, Reality Shift, Bale for Mastery, all these other spells and whatnot, it does depend what colours you're in. You often have 2 or 3 options very easily and very quickly. Most of the other removal that you need is for artifacts and enchantments. You might need 1 or 2 for creatures or whatnot. Then you might need 1 or 2 for artifacts and enchantments, and then you might need 1 more perhaps for a bit of everything. So that's the way I tend to look at that as well. But again, getting back to the main point being, yes, it's fine. Like, if somebody hands me their deck one time here or there and it's not a very good deck, it's one of those things I will just go, well, this isn't my deck, so I don't need to, worry about it that much. But if somebody says, hey, you played my deck, what's one of the things that you noticed with my deck that it might need help with, or maybe it, would be better with, or whatever? It's one of those things that I love helping people with their decks, and I'm so much better at helping other people with their decks than I am in building my own decks. It's one of those things. I'm very fussy with what I try to pick, and that's, another reason to say, hey, I'm not the best person to perhaps ask about building monocolored decks, again, to a degree, but again, I know the pitfalls, and that's why I'm a little bit picky about playing those colors or whatnot, because I know, hey, I don't want to be in that position because I don't want to have to deal with it. I just can't be bothered. I don't want to be mono white because I'll never ramp and I'll never draw cards, or I'll basically never ramp and I'll never draw cards. So I don't want to do that, and I don't want to be mono blue because I'm not one of those people that's very non-proactive. I'm very proactive, as I sort of put in a video a while back. But again, I am one of those people who do not like to sit on counter spells or whatnot. Even I don't like to sit on too much removal. For the most part, I want to play my things and, get ahead on board and start doing things, start being proactive and whatnot. But again, that's just me. But that's it. I understand that. But again, I'm just here to say, hey, this is why it is, because some people have said, hey, why don't you like monocolored decks? And I'm like, well, this is why. So, yeah, that was the whole sort of point of putting this out there and having a little bit of a discussion and whatnot about it. But again, it is all about choices and whatnot, or whatever. If you go out to your LGS or whatever, or if you pick up a deck somewhere and it's a monocolor deck, go have fun. You've picked up Krenko. Krenko's a really good deck, but, if you get stopped or board wiped fairly quickly in the game, then it's probably over for you, because you get that sort of one chance probably, and then you're probably going to be the big target for the rest of the game because, hey, you're playing Krenko and you're probably not going to get Krenko back out again. So it's like one of those things, and Marinor is sort of similar-ish to a degree, because again, it's very infamous for just going off and even comboing off and whatnot. So it's one of those things where people go, well, we're not dealing with that or whatnot. So yeah, again, it's one of those things where it's like you need to know that even the best mono commanders have their pitfalls because of how good they are to a degree. So even if you find a good deck or find a good commander, it's like very hard sometimes to be like, well, yeah, sure, it's good, but how good is it? Is it actually resilient? No, because resiliency isn't really built into an aggressive deck like that. So it's just one of those things where you just like, okay, either I win or I die sort of thing. So I don't like decks like that either. So that's where I find that, I want a deck that doesn't just fold to removal too much for the most part. Like my squirrel deck is like that in a lot of ways, but again, that's just like because I like that deck so much. And it can like sometimes recover. It doesn't do it a lot, but sometimes it can if I get a good enough draw, which sometimes doesn't happen again. It's very weird. That deck is incredibly hit and miss. Like even like a few other decks that I've played are incredibly hit and miss. Like it's very funny to people for me to like people look at my deck and go, "Wow, your deck's really strong or whatnot, or really powerful," but like I haven't won or anything like that, and it's probably going to take me a few turns to actually win and whatnot, and then somebody board wipes and I say, "Well, I'm out of this game then," because I've probably played everything and whatnot for the most part, and you know I might get back in the game, but I probably won't. So it's just one of those things. It does happen, but again, I'm aware of that as well. So yeah, I guess it's one of those things about it that it's just mainly the limitedness of it that I don't like. I don't like being limited. Not to say that I have to play 5-color decks or 4-color decks or 3-color decks all the time. I play a lot of two. Actually, I play 2-color decks and a 1-3-color and a 1-4-color. But that is what it is. I was thinking about building another 2-color, maybe. I don't know. It does depend. I'm trying to find more commanders all the time to build because I love building. But that's the way it is. So, but anyway, you guys will always like and do what you guys want to do, and I fully support you. Doing whatever you guys want to do. But this is just the way that I want to play. I don't want to play with those style of decks because that's just not fun for me, and I don't have any real interest in it and whatnot. I don't see the point in it for the most part. So that's just where I'm at, So you guys can tell me where you're at. Write your thoughts down there in the comments below. I'll be sure to respond to all the comments that I can. I really do love interacting with you guys, talking about all these EDH things that we love. And yeah, so I'll see you down there in those comments, or I'll see you in the next one. Hey, you've just finished watching one of our videos. A bunch of other videos are popping up on your screen now for you to check out, so why not check them out?